Now, as we carry the weight and the wisdom of Violet's story, we move into the realm of Churchyard by Aurora. This is not just a shift in melody, but in spirit. Where Violet's tale brings us face to face with the shadows of abuse, Churchyard guides us through a narrative of empowerment and taking back control. Aurora's poignant lyrics and ethereal sounds remind us that vulnerability isn't weakness. As a powerful step towards reclaiming our voice and our strength. As we listen, let's allow the themes of voice and silence to resonate within us, reminding us of the power of our own stories and the healing that comes from being heard. So, welcome to the channel, Lower the Shield. Let's lower our shields together. This video is a part 2 of 2 different analyses of, one is Violet's Tale by Wren, and now, today, Churchyard by Aurora. As the community, you all out there, had kind of expressed some interest in me analyzing both of these, I discovered a deep connection between them. So that's what I'm doing is attempting to draw this connection between the 2 different performances around the difficult topic sometimes of domestic abuse, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and depending on where you sit on the globe on how these issues are addressed and navigated through society. As we continue to move through this, then, as typical, I invite you to pause and settle in and ground yourself in the setting that you're at, wherever you are. Notice your body grounding to the ground, to the earth, whether you're sitting, standing, lying down, driving, noticing grounding of some sort. The support that the earth gives. Maybe taking a deep breath and releasing a sigh and just releasing any tension as you prepare to come along on this journey with the shields down. And if at some point you start to feel overwhelmed or sense overwhelmed, to give yourself permission now to pause and to maybe go do something else to recharge and restore. We're not going to be watching the video straight through. I'm going to be stopping it several times, I believe. But I will put the link down in the comments so that you can go watch it straight through if it's going to be useful for you. Many of you have already seen this. It came in as a recommendation to review this one and to analyze it. So let's get into it.
He told me I belong in a churchyard. He told me I could walk away, but I wouldn't get far.
These 2 lines, he told me I belong in a churchyard. He told me I could walk away, but I wouldn't get far. This kind of relationship and these kind of words told to someone, to tell someone that you care for, that you're in a relationship with, that they belong in a churchyard, in other words, they belong in the cemetery, is implying that they don't have a right to live. Powerful words. Aurora is presenting to us already the beginning of a form of emotional abuse, psychological abuse within a relationship, a way of attempting to control the other in the relationship through not so veiled threats. If you try to walk away, you're not going to get very far. So let's continue on and see how this unfolds.
Tell me, how do people know what is hurt, what is love? Oh, he told me I belong in a churchyard.
Tell me, how do people know what is hurt, what is love? This is a phrase that we'll be exposed to several times within the song. And it might be viewed as a form of attempting to glean some understanding, maybe from the perspective of the person telling the story, of our protagonist in this story. And remembering that this is a story, this is a performance. It could be a metaphor. Being able to use it as a metaphor is to try to get a nature of understanding of an emotional experience, of what it might be like. How do we know the difference between hurt and love? In Violet's Tale, I was kind of unpacking this idea of trauma reenactment. If we've come through this far in our lives and so far the only love we've received was in the form of hurt, sometimes it's hard to distinguish. So to attempt to understand the differences between hurt and love and do others see it can be useful as we navigate in our relationships. Let's see what else she has to offer us.
Words pointy like arrows, wounds no one can see. He closed all the windows as his anger broke free.
So these phrases of words pointy like arrows, wounds no one can see, can be the metaphorical way of describing that we each carry within us our own wounds that either we hide from ourselves and we don't even know we have them, or we won't let others see them. We don't let the rest of the world see the pains and the hurts that we carry within us. Yet sometimes when we deliberately use words as though they were arrows and we shoot them at people in a way of hurting, emotional hurt, it's more example of emotional trauma, emotional abuse that is very common within domestic abuse scenarios. So the line also, he closed all the windows as his anger broke free, is now starting to describe physical isolation, maybe being applied to the antagonist or protagonist. A form of, let's close the windows so the neighbors can't hear what's going on. We're going to keep it all contained in here. There's a thread that's running through this performance of Churchyard that also was running through Violet's Tale and was alluded to even a couple videos back when I analyzed It Happened Quiet. And that's one of the silence, the quietness, closing the window so people can't hear it outside. Nobody will hear you scream. In Violet's Tale, it's Violet was silent, and that was stressed throughout the performance that she remained silent all the way up to the end. A way of isolating and feeling isolated is shown up just simply by the words that we use. You belong in a churchyard. Harsh words to tell somebody, oh, by the way, I'm going to close the windows so people aren't going to hear what's going to go on within the confines of this space.
Words pointy like arrows, wounds no one can see. He closed all the windows as his anger broke free. I will not remember you somebody nice. Please, will you remember me and cry?
As humans, we all have a need to know that we matter and that somehow we'll be remembered when we're not here anymore, at the end of our life, when we've passed on. In this portion of the song, she talks about how she's going to remember this abuser. She has a comment in here. I will not remember you as somebody nice. Some people may say that's a little bit too soft or something like that, but it's a way of portraying that something's shifting here in this song as she's working on developing meaning, a sense of who she is. Almost wishing that when you remember me, I want you to cry. That within this abuser, that if you're going to remember me, cry when you do it about the pain and the hurt that you've caused me throughout this relationship.
He told me I belong in a churchyard. He told me I could walk away, but I wouldn't get far. Oh, he told me, how do people know what is right, what is love? He told me I belong in a churchyard.
In a video like this, a performance like this, sometimes the visuals are just as important as the music and the lyrics and the tempos and the timbre that we're hearing. And in this, what we're seeing is an energy shift. There's an energy that's growing within the performance, not just within Aurora, but within the other musicians as well. A repetition of the lines about being told she belongs in a churchyard. But it's almost as though that there's a sense of empowerment that's growing within her, almost a defiance maybe. Being able to state it, that an energy's building, a shift is happening within the storyline here.
Follow him gently, black seeds in his heart, who's tearing the love in him apart.
Something starts to happen within us that can be very healing and useful for us if we're able to find space to see the suffering in another individual. And when that other individual is the one that's been doing us harm, it takes particular skills and openness to be able to do this. But what it is, it opens us up to the ability to be compassionate, to see their suffering, to be compassionate toward the suffering, opens us up to the space to then also be able to forgive them, to release ourselves from them, seeing their suffering, understanding it maybe at some level, but not condoning it. And then that opens us up into maybe the potential to make a different kind of a decision for ourselves that's going to be useful and loving and kind back inward this way. Here we hear Aurora using particular words to describe the suffering of this abuser. Hate followed him gently, planted seeds in his heart, roots tearing the love in him apart. When whatever love and the ability to love that we may have been born with is stripped away from us through life experiences or however, and it's replaced by hate, but to be able to have an understanding of that in another person, we can get a sense of how awful that might be for them. And if they're not able to change, if they're not willing to change, then it opens us up then to be able to understand it, to empower ourselves, then to step in, to maybe exert some sort of a change. And this might be where this song is going right now, where we may be right on this precipice of something shifting significantly enough that things are going to be different. Let's find out.
Who's tearing the love in him apart? He told me I belong in a churchyard. He told me I could walk away, but I wouldn't get far.
seeing the whole body engagement of Aurora and then some shifts also within the other musicians in the scene and the elevation of the energy that's coming in, it's almost as though there's a running away, that he told me I couldn't run away, but here I am, I'm doing it. And watching her feet, the movement in her feet starts to show that there's an energy, there's an empowerment to separate from this abuser and to run away. Let's see how the story or how the rest of the song plays out.
He told me I belong in a churchyard. He told me I could walk away, but I wouldn't get far. Tell me, how do people know what is hurt, what is not? He told me I belong in a churchyard.
As with so many musical performances, they can possibly be open to many interpretations, and they certainly may activate different thoughts, emotions, and experiences for anyone watching this. A reminder that this analysis is simply through my lens, with my experiences, attempting to understand some of the psychology, some of the dynamics around violence and intimate partner violence. One of the takeaway messages in this performance is that of resiliency. This last bit here, it's almost like a celebratory type of actions and body movements from Aurora within the song and within the languaging that was coming through from her and the other performers. Transitioning from the harshness of being a victim to the resiliency, the empowerment to attempting to make things different. Doesn't always have a clean and clear-cut ending. In Violet's Tale, for sure, we heard about very explicit ways that each of those storylines were coming to an end. Aurora's much more metaphorical within the stories that she's laying out here. Now, I recognize that this particular community on this channel of Lower the Shield comes from all over the globe. And I'm certainly appreciative of that level of people having an interest in checking in with the concepts that we discuss here. Continuing on with recognizing that there's a multicultural engagement here, that within each country, within each region of the globe where anybody participating may be residing, you may have different levels of resources available. I'll list down below in the description some resources, but it's not going to be an exhaustive list, and I certainly won't be able to do it for every scenario around the globe. And certainly there's going to be self-care, taking care of yourself while engaged with these kind of challenges, whether you're going through it or whether you're alongside helping somebody else go through it. Self-care is so important. And self-care is one of the things that an abuser may try to interfere with. It's another form of the abuse. So recognizing that even though I say self-care is important, self-compassion practices, mindfulness practices, spiritual practices, these are all things that in an abusive relationship, the abuser may try to strip away. So again, doing it in a way that is safe for you in the moment and creating that plan getting the emotional support, the physical support, the financial support to be able to make a separation if that's called for. It is complex. These scenarios are extremely complex. So I invite you to settle in once again, maybe ground once again, let out a sigh, as it feels appropriate to raise the shields back up, to give you some sense of protection as you go back out into the rest of your day, leaving behind whatever it is that is going to stay. So until the next one, I wish you well, and may you remain free of harm. And may you experience equanimity, balance, and peace.